Jesus never measured people by their strength, and that alone reveals the heart of God. He knew how fragile human confidence can be, how easily courage fades under pressure, and how quickly faith feels small when life becomes heavy. Yet he never turned away from weakness. Instead, he moved toward it. Jesus spoke to tired souls, uncertain hearts, and fearful minds with a patience that the world rarely offers. He did not demand instant faith or flawless obedience. He invited people to walk with him, step by step, learning that God is not impressed by how strong we appear, but deeply moved by how honestly we trust. Many people believe God only works through confident believers, yet Jesus consistently chose those who doubted, stumbled, and struggled, showing that faith is not about never falling, but about always returning. Jesus understood that some battles are loud and visible, while others are silent and hidden. He knew that people often smile publicly while breaking privately, and he never dismissed those unseen struggles. He spoke words that reached beneath behavior and touched the heart, because God does not heal surfaces. He heals roots. Jesus revealed that many burdens people carry were never meant to be carried alone. Shame, fear, guilt, and regret quietly drain the soul, convincing people they are unworthy of God's attention. Jesus confronted that lie not with anger, but with compassion, reminding humanity that God does not wait for perfection before offering grace. Grace meets people in their mess, not after it is cleaned. Jesus often delayed answers, not because he was indifferent, but because timing matters in God's work. He knew that quick solutions do not always produce lasting transformation. When people begged for immediate relief, Jesus sometimes paused, allowing faith to deepen and trust to grow. He taught that waiting seasons are not empty seasons. They are shaping seasons. God uses waiting to strengthen roots, clarify motives, and prepare hearts for what is coming. Many walk away too early, mistaking delay for denial, not realizing that God's silence often hides preparation. Jesus never rushed God's process, because he trusted God's purpose completely. Jesus spoke about faith as something living, something that grows, struggles, and matures over time. He never mocked small faith. He honored it. He said even faith the size of a mustard seed mattered, because faith's power does not come from its size, but from its direction. Faith placed in God, even when weak, carries divine strength. Jesus showed that doubt does not disqualify faith. Refusing to trust does. He welcomed honest questions and patient seekers, knowing that real faith often begins with uncertainty. He revealed a God who is not threatened by questions, but pleased by sincere seeking. As Jesus traveled, he encountered people worn down by disappointment. Some had prayed for years without seeing change. Others had followed God faithfully yet still suffered loss. Jesus did not offer shallow comfort or easy explanations. He acknowledged pain without diminishing hope. He showed that God does not waste suffering. Pain endured with faith becomes purpose over time. Jesus reminded people that God sees the full story, not just the current chapter. What feels like an ending is often preparation for a new beginning that cannot yet be seen. Jesus lived a life fully surrendered to God, and that surrender did not protect him from hardship. It led him straight into it. He was misunderstood, rejected, and betrayed, yet he never allowed bitterness to take root. He trusted God's justice more than human approval. Jesus did not defend himself against every accusation because he knew truth does not need constant defense. Peace comes not from being understood by everyone, but from being faithful to God. His calm obedience in the face of rejection revealed that security comes from identity in God, not validation from people. In moments of deep sorrow, Jesus did not hide his emotions. He wept, prayed, and wrestled with pain, showing that faith does not require emotional silence. He taught that God welcomes honest prayers, not polished performances. In the garden before the cross, Jesus felt overwhelmed, yet he surrendered fully, trusting God even when the path ahead was painful. That moment revealed that obedience is not about feeling strong, but choosing faith when strength feels absent. Jesus showed that private surrender can shape eternal outcomes. The cross stands as the greatest example of love remaining faithful under pressure. Jesus carried humanity's sin, fear, and brokenness without responding with hatred or revenge. He chose forgiveness while enduring injustice, proving that love anchored in God cannot be destroyed by suffering. The cross revealed the seriousness of sin, but even more, it revealed the depth of God's mercy. Jesus did not avoid pain to save humanity, he walked through it. Love willing to suffer for others has power no force can overcome. The silence that followed his death felt final, but God was still working beyond human sight. The resurrection was not rushed. It arrived at the appointed time, declaring that waiting never has the final word. Jesus rose to show that obedience is never forgotten, faith is never wasted, and love is never defeated. Hope stepped out of the grave quietly, yet powerfully, reminding humanity that God's promises stand even when circumstances collapse. After rising, Jesus did not shame his followers for their fear or doubt. He restored them gently, offering peace instead of disappointment. He entrusted his message to ordinary people, proving that God works through willing hearts, not perfect ones. He reminded them that faith would be tested, but God's presence would remain. Jesus never promised ease, but he promised companionship. God does not always remove the storm, but he never abandons those within it. Today, many people feel exhausted from trying to hold life together on their own. Anxiety grows, hope feels fragile, and faith feels quiet. Jesus speaks into this weariness with the same invitation he offered long ago: to rest, to trust, and to surrender. He reminds people that control is an illusion and peace is a gift. Life was never meant to be carried alone. God's strength becomes visible when human strength runs out. Jesus continues to call people away from fear-driven living into faith-filled trust. He calls hearts away from constant striving into quiet obedience. He reminds those who feel unseen that God notices every silent prayer, every unseen sacrifice, and every faithful step taken in doubt. Waiting seasons are not signs of abandonment. They are often evidence of God's careful work. Growth happens slowly, deeply, and often invisibly. To follow Jesus is to trust God when answers delay, to obey when recognition is absent, and to hope when circumstances feel heavy. It is a life anchored not in feelings, but in truth. Not in strength, but in surrender. Not in certainty, but in trust. Jesus remains God's steady invitation to a weary world, reminding humanity that faith grows in quiet places, hope survives in dark moments, and God remains faithful even when the path forward is unclear. His message is not loud, temporary, or shallow. It is calm, enduring, and powerful, calling hearts to rest in the truth that God is working even now.